8 o'clock, Tuesday, September 14th. I'm going to call the meeting of the Airport Authority to order. First item on the agenda is to approve the meeting minutes from August 10th and August 24th.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on them? Any corrections? Very good. Let's roll call vote, please.
Engen?
Aye.
Cosgrove? Cosgrove?
He can't hear you. I can see your voice.
You're muted, John. Cosgrove. Okay.
Lynn?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I'm assuming everybody can hear us. I didn't do the,
Is the volume up on there?
audio visual check.
Stacy,
on that
can you
one.
hear us?
Okay.
All right.
Very good.
Can you just say something on the thing so we? Let's see.
Oh,
You're
you're
still
muted.
muted.
You're still muted.
Okay.
Unless the mic's off. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
All right.
Yes, we can.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Stacy. Okay. Next.
Still can't hear Cosgrove.
Yeah, we still can't hear Cosgrove.
His mic might be off. No, actually, not just muted.
He's-
Might reboot.
Second thing is to approve the airport vouchers totaling $126,728.25.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion on any of those items? Looks like we lost Joseph there.
He's gonna reboot, I think.
He's rebooting. Okay. No discussion on them? So we're going to talk about the shelter belt stuff here in a little bit, right? So I will save my questions for that coming up. But that was my question.
Okay.
And then I did have another one. I'll meet with you offline on that. All right, roll call vote.
Engen?
Aye.
Cosgrove? Cosgrove?
John?
Lynn?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye. Motion passes. All right,
I
number.
don't know if John can, if he can hear us.
Yeah.
I wonder if John can dial in. Number 3, approve the individual vouchers, Alpha through India. So we have 2 late editions. Letter H is Northern Improvement Corporation. Incorporated for the cargo apron, $515,000, $515,607 and 46 cents, and then another one for the same company for $586,926.91.
Motion.
Motion.
To inclusive of H and I.
Okay.
And I'd like to make sure Commissioner or Chairman or Board Member Cosgrove can hear us and we can visit.
John, can you hear us?
Maybe we can dial.
Technology.
Yeah.
Okay. We still have 3 of us. But,
I-
I know, I want him to participate as well, but if he's having technical difficulties, we can continue. And we have our 4th here.
Yes.
Hi.
Did you second that motion? Tim?
I did second.
Couldn't get out.
It's a long walk. It's a long walk.
Oh, I love it.
Mr. Captain, we're on item 3, which was to approve the individual vouchers, A through I. So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Engen gave the motion and Ms. Lynn gave the second, and I'm wondering if we have any discussion about any of these items.
No, I would just give us a second to let Mr. Cosgrove come back online.
Okay. Any discussion about it thus far?
No.
Okay.
All right, other than, do we have a couple more from Northern for the concrete, or is this?
There'll be a couple more.
Yep.
I don't know, Jeff, when our closeout will be, but we'll have some more here.
Do you have this text? Do you have his telephone number? Maybe you want to text him. I don't have it.
Maybe just put them on speakerphone or something.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Okay, Strand,
There you go.
Cosgrove. Okay.
Connecting to audio.
Yeah, sometimes with Zoom, you connect to audio and, okay.
I'm gonna see if you can.
Okay, Mr. Cosgriff, can you hear me? Take this off since
No,
it's back.
no, he dropped off again, and John Strand is there.
I'm back.
Oh, yeah.
There he is. Okay.
Okay, we can hear you now. Okay, just to catch you up, we're talking about item 3, which is to approve the individual vouchers A through G, and then we had 2 additions for H and I for Northern Improvement. Did you get those additions, Mr. Cosgrove?
Yeah. Good to go.
Okay, any discussion on them? I have a motion and a second to approve them. I was asking if there's any discussion or any questions you have about any of those items, sir.
Nope.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Engen.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. Very good. Item number 4, received communication from SP Plus regarding the independent auditor's report for this year ending 6/30 of 2021.
Yeah, I guess the statement of gross receipts is included in your packet, is done by their independent auditor, CNP Advisors. I don't know if you have any questions, but there wasn't any, in our opinion, the statement of gross receipts referred to above presents fairly in all material respects the receipts of the parking facilities at Hector International Airport for the year ended June 30th, 2021, in accordance with the financial reporting provisions of the management agreement referred to above. So this is just kind of a public receive and file of that there was an audit done of the parking facility and everything was in order.
Can we make sure that any audits that we get are make sure that Mr. Pepcorn gets them?
We could send it to him, sure.
Okay,
As well as Commissioner Strange.
as well, oh, of course, and Commissioner
Yeah.
Strand would have gotten it with the packet.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
This audit that was done by SP Plus's auditor for the airport activity, SP Plus is a public company, is that not correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Publicly traded companies, so they get audited by the SEC. So that should be a pretty bulletproof audit. Just looking at page 3 on there, it looks like we really took it on the chin in July and August there with $61,000 in parking and $86,000 versus June of 2021, $220,000 just in the transient stuff. So anyway, glad things are improving.
Yep.
So that was any further discussion on that was just receiving the communication, receiving the report. We don't have to action anything on that. So if there's no other comments about it, we'll proceed on to number 5.
Can I?
Yeah.
Mr. Strand is back on. John, I wanted to make sure that the audit report that we got, we'll make sure that Mr. Pepcorn gets any audits to make sure that we accommodate and give him the information that he wants.
Thank you, Tammy, and my apologies. I'm having real computer issues today. I'm a dinosaur when it comes to this, and I'm having trouble with my computer, but I will make sure that gets shared, and I know we'll all receive that positive.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number 5, received proposal to remove the shelter belt areas.
So I sent a map of the area. This is far north on 25th Street, west of Highland Park. It's on some property that we purchased a number of years ago from the Gill family. And these 2 shelter belts have been an issue from, well, before we even purchased it, with trees falling out in the farm areas. It's just kind of been a mess. So we had Jim Hansen. Jim is online. Jim is our kind of landscape architect that we've retained to help us with tree issues. And he went out and solicited bids from 3 different vendors: Cougar Tree Service, Cars Tree Service, and Tyler's Tree Service. And the costs are substantially lower if they can burn the wood right on site there. And the lowest was Cars Tree Service for $37,450. So Jim, I don't know if you have any other questions, but these need attention. They're in bad shape. It just continues to erode, and we'll just restore it and put it back into farmland, I guess. So Jim, do you have anything to add?
Just the contractors were asked to take out the trees sometime between this fall and this winter and make the farmland farmable by the spring 22 planting season. The low bid Cars Tree Service plan for burning is to push all the trees into a hole and then burn it down. And then what doesn't burn it would be piled up or would be covered back up with soil. That's kind of what the burning strategy is.
Any discussion?
I just want to bring up an effort that maybe we consider for the future. In Arizona, once I figured out that all these trees with the power and the utilities companies were being chopped down, I worked with many vendors and we put them into firewood, and we actually had a process that we would give them to the people that were in need and that had fire facilities. I called it Project Stay Warm. And it's kind of a different idea. I don't see it being done up here, but I think that's kind of one of those things that environmentally, number one, it would be a plus for us, but for the infrastructure, but for the people who need the firewood. So that's just an idea for the future.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I ask what are the makeup of most of those trees in the shelter belts?
I met with when we evaluated the shelter belts, I met with Tony Peterson with Soil Conservation District, and we just kind of identified what's in each row. The west row is a single row of trees with shrubs. Just get my notes here. And that's an ash row. The row to the south of the farmstead area is 3 rows, and after a row of ash, box elder, and elm. And then the shelter belt to the east is actually, he considers that to be a shelter belt in very good condition for what it's supposed to do, and that's a row of spruce, ash, elm, and lilac.
That's the property.
One of the things that we've been doing in the past, for conserving wood, is I know Cougar has. When I initially asked them to take out the trees, part of their bid was to remove the trees from the site. And what Cougar Tree Care has done in the past is we've chipped a lot of it out of the wood and then left it in piles, and then we reutilize that on future planting projects around the airport. And we still have a considerable pile of wood chips over by the shelter belt by the Pepsi soccer complex. We're still pulling from that. So we have kind of talked about what to do with some of the wood in the past.
Any other discussion?
Move to approve the removal as suggested.
Second.
Any further comment? Roll call vote.
Hagan,
Aye.
Cosgriff,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Lind.
Okay, number 6 is review temporary employment policy regarding annual leave carryover for 2022.
So a couple things here. Stacy and Eric Johnson have been working on an employee acknowledgement and authorization to release information from the City of Fargo and the Airport Authority as we move forward with our transition. Part of the reason for this is for each employee to sign that information in their file and so forth to be shared with Pro Resources to continue that transition process and get their portal set up and bring them on board with Pro Resources. One of the items that I discussed with Mike Redlinger some weeks ago was how the Airport Authority was going to handle employees' annual leave and sick leave as far as when we make the transition. Their proposal was to pay it out. So our employees are terminated December 26th, so when you're terminated, they pay out your annual leave balance, whatever that may be, your vacation balance. And then any hours on your sick leave balance that are in excess of 960 are paid out at 44.4%. That's how they would handle it. My idea is that the Airport Authority would roll forward the maximum amounts that are allowed to be carried forward. It's our liability. It's not the city's liability as far as those vacation and sick leave balances. So they were going to, like I say, pay it out, all of it, and then we'd start over again. But that's really not the practice that we would do. We will roll those amounts forward. A couple of things that had happened, and one was because of COVID. Employees, non-fire department employees each year are allowed to carry over 256 hours of annual leave and 960 hours of sick leave. And the sick leave is all taken care of. There's bank sick leave. So we're just talking about the annual leave. So 256 hours. So at the last pay period in December, if you had any hours in excess of 256, you'd lose it. It was done. You'd start over with the 256 on your first payroll. At the start, because of COVID, the city allowed employees to carry over 80 additional hours for 2021. And what they're proposing now and what was in your packet as of June 15th is they will allow employees to carry over 40 additional hours. The fire department is a little bit more than that. Fire department can carry over up to 556.5 hours. Other employees 296, so it's a 256 plus 40, and the fire department gets to carry over a little bit more. What we're asking for is, on behalf of the employees, is that the airport authority would pay out any hours in excess of 296 for non-fire department employees and any hours in excess of 556.5 for fire department employees on the last payroll. 556, is it 565?
556.
556.5 for fire. So on the December 26th will be our last payroll processing date with the city of Fargo. December 27th, Pro Resources takes over. So in that final check, per your concurrence today, is employees that have hours in excess of 296 and 556.5 for fire, you just pay those hours out. They were already proposing to do that, so but we're going to carry over a balance. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
At what point do we get back to the original numbers?
Our goal would be is that at the start of calendar year 2023, we would go back to the same practice that we've had in the past. If you come up on December 31st of 2022 and you're over 256, you'll lose them. If you're over 960 on the sick leave, that's already paid out anyway. We're going to follow that same practice. Fire department would be whatever their proportionate is. I think you'd go back to 508.5 for the fire department at the start of 2023.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sean, I'm not following the logic here. Maybe I missed what you said, but the employees will get paid out by the city?
The city had proposed paying out all of their annual leave balance on the final payroll of December 26th. That's the last day that they're going to process payroll for us, and they had proposed as part of termination is just to pay out whatever annual leave was on the employee's account at that time. And what I've indicated,
the employees are exiting city employment, so that would be standard operating procedure, correct?
for termination, that is correct. However, the liability is on the airport authority's books, not the city's books. So, and Mike was fine with that, is to just roll the balances forward. So it'd be 296 hours for non-fire department employees and 565.5 hours for fire. That would be the maximum. Not all employees are going to be at the 296 level. Not all fire department employees are going to be at the 565.5 level. That would be the maximum that you could carry over. And what we're asking for is...
I would ask Stacy, do the employees have a say in this? I mean, it's their benefit. It's, when they are changing employers at this point.
So I guess that would be maybe more of a question for Sean. I feel like right now where we're at is it's sort of a working, it's a work in progress as to what truly the end game will be. And that's the discussions that Eric and I have been having. You know, do the airport employees have a choice to be paid out or have it rolled over? So I guess I'm not sure if that's been finally answered at this point. I guess that's where I'm at in my discussions with Eric at this point. I don't know, Sean, if you have more to add to that. Obviously, I'm not boots on the ground talking with the employees.
Yeah, it's an airport authority liability. I guess the employees would expect that their vacation balances would be carried forward.
So do they get a choice? Can they get paid out if they want to be?
I assume they can. I can't imagine that anyone would. They would want to carry their vacation balances forward. So I mean, we can ask the question if they want to get paid out. They certainly can, but at the same time, I just don't see anyone doing that. We can ask the question and follow up with you at the next meeting, but I'm positive they're just going to want their hours to carry forward because The majority of them already told us that, so.
Okay. Mr. Captain.
Correct.
Well, I favor Sean's proposal of carrying everything forward. However, I would like to know, have them, poll the employees to see what they're, I'm assuming they'd all want to carry it forward, but if somebody wants to get paid out, then pay them out, carry everybody else forward if they want, but I'm in favor of rolling everything forward.
So that means they would start at 0 for an annual leave balance, and they'd start at 0 for a sick leave balance.
I don't think we should do a start at 0 for sick.
That would be
sick leave.
horrendous.
Yeah, that would be horrendous.
That would be a
Because,
terrible thing to do.
yeah, you wanna make sure that in any business, you wanna make sure that they've got the ability to take sick leave. And if you start at 0, they're gonna have to start earning it right
Well,
away.
I guess what I'm saying is, if the employee wants to get paid out, pay them out.
For
Pay that
personal leave.
individual.
For personal leave, but I guess, so let's say the end result is somebody has a heart attack and they've paid out for both of them. Their only option would be to take, leave without pay then. So,
That's an option they took.
okay,
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
If
They
the
already got
individual
paid
says,
in
hey,
the
I want to
front.
get paid out, pay them out. Everybody else that says, no, I want mine rolled forward, roll it forward, but if the majority, maybe it would be better if the majority rules.
The sick leave would not get paid out.
I didn't think so.
Right.
No,
Sick leave
well,
doesn't-
just
No,
in
it's
excess.
just the annual leave that gets
Okay.
paid out.
Yes,
Correct.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
Go ahead, Stacy.
So I would just add, originally in the drafting of the authorization and release by Eric, it was drafted that annual leave would be paid out. And that's where the discussion was had, that they should have the opportunity to roll it over. I mean, we are sort of yes, termination of employment with the city occurs, but this is a hybrid sort of situation, since the city of Fargo, while processes checks and leave, they're not the ones paying for it, the airport is. And so he and I have been redrafting the agreement, moving toward they have the opportunity to roll over their annual leave.
Thank you. Yes, Mr.
Another
Captain.
one. On annual leave, is there, if they can accumulate up to what?
Normally up to 256,
256 hours?
but they added 40
40.
this year.
So 296, they can carry.
But at the end of the year, is it the same old policy it was years ago, as use it or lose it?
Correct.
So we'll follow that at the end of 2022. And that's what the city's intent is per the memo that you have, is to go back to normal, to use it or lose it. But with COVID and stuff, a lot of people haven't been able to really use it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can this be incorporated into, as the employees are signing their release questionnaire, can we have an additional page that offers that to them and explains it, so that it is dealt with in no later than the month of the end of October for those employees as a census question?
Stacy, can you do that?
Yes, and that really is sort of how this document that Eric and I are working on that is what it is turning into. I mean, exiting the city, they're going to have to acknowledge, every part of their employment that's going to transfer over to the airport. And the city is doing that, to protect themselves too.
Okay.
I had hoped to have the draft authorization and release to all of you to review today, but we're just not quite there yet. I want to get it more in a final format. Jill Manette is back in the office today. I want to have some discussion with her to make sure we're on the same page, so we're right there, but I just wasn't ready to distribute it today. Certainly something that we can have emailed out to you guys this week.
Okay, thank you. I think I read that last night already, so. Okay, any further discussion about a motion to,
Move to accept, subject to employee census and opinion that'll be submitted to the employees and back to us by the end of October.
Second.
okay? Roll call vote?
Engen,
Aye.
Cosgrove,
Aye.
Capitan,
Aye.
Lind.
Aye.
Lind.
All right. Everyone's favorite airport construction and security update.
Jeff, why don't you go first?
I knew it. That's why everyone showed up, right?
Everyone showed up to review the employee manual coming
Oh,
out.
yeah.
In all honesty, I don't have a tremendous amount to report other than obviously a big accomplishment this past weekend with the first flights of UPS using the new facility up at the Carter ramp. So we have a new aerial photo. So basically where it stands right now is we're just finishing up punch list items. I know they were out there yesterday doing some seating and there's some probably some electrical work, that kind of thing. But you know, for the most part, it's like 99% complete. So we'll work through those punch lists with items with Northern, agree upon final payments, and then work towards closing out both those grants. There was 2 grants that covered the project. So and then this morning, Parsons Electric began doing all the LED retrofit lights around the airport. They're replacing all the old high pressure sodium lights on the terminal apron, and then same on the up by Fargo Jet Center, and then the entrance road into Fargo Jet Center and the cargo facility. So that's where we're at. Any questions or?
I'd just like to make a comment. It was, 4 of us were, and staff were there last night at UPS, and it was just phenomenal. What I'd suggest is, can we make sure we send them a bouquet of a nice flower arrangement and congratulate them?
And ship it UPS.
And ship UPS.
You can have FedEx.
Okay, let's just hand deliver it, you know? After seeing all those containers, I don't know.
It's the cleanest that building will ever be.
Oh, that was just amazing. And one of the things that when I took a couple people, Chris including, on a pretty major tour of the airport, which was about an hour and 15, hour and a half. And one of the things that came up, and I asked about last night, was whether we could have groups could tour the facility, and they said yes. So once they get up and running, there will be tours, and whether it's, it was just, I mean, just to look at the process, and most of us have grown up with those, the process that you will see in a smaller degree, but in school-wise, they don't teach that. They don't teach that, and for people to see that, you know what, I could probably do this type of job. I couldn't do this one because I'm too short. We found that out last night at some anyway, so I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
And I guess the last thing that I'll add too is, if you recall, a couple months ago we had taken some aerial footage of the construction process. We're going to go through that same aerial imagery again now that the complex is complete and there's actually aircraft on the ramp. So I think it'll be pretty cool to see. So.
What's the status on the terminal area study with the independent fee review?
Just it hasn't gotten anywhere. Just having trouble finding somebody to actually do the fee review. I've reached out to several options and just reluctance for them to do the work for us. So one of the things that, so we have this terminal area study contract with the airport authority subject to fee review, because the fee review is required for contracts over $100,000 just to make sure, you know, our fee is obviously in line. It's a requirement the FAA has, and it's independently done from another consultant, and for whatever reason, consultants are just reluctant to do it, or you know, we have just having trouble finding somebody to do it. So I've reached out to one architect down in Sioux Falls and some local here, and just haven't had any luck. So we'll continue to try to find an option, I guess.
So nothing can be done until that fee review is done, and it's, I don't know how many firms we've gone through, but there's
Right.
nobody's interested in doing it,
Right.
which is odd because other airports have to do it.
Right. And it's the study is critical, I guess, for the airport from the standpoint that, you know, it takes a while to get through it, and we want to get through it to be able to position the airport to get money for any future terminal expansion. So, because it has been talked about under the, you know, new infrastructure bill. So.
Any more questions for Terry? I'm sorry, for Jeff. Okay, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a couple things. The first thing that I brought Mikey Johnson in today. So I'm gonna have Roger and Brady come up and our stand where you are and talk about where we're at on the SRE and some of the issues we're having.
Just so they can hear you on the phone and so forth, maybe come a little bit closer because it's tough to hear sometimes. It's there's quite a punch list that's out there, so.
Yeah, the interior punch list for the project is complete with the exception of there's some touch-up paint in the floor epoxy and sand and salt bays. I've been told they'll be here today and wrap up those couple of things. There's a piece of ductwork that was missed painting-wise in the addition. They'll get that by the end of the week also. The exterior punch list, which I think is where most of the issue lies, the joint sealant and resealant is about 80% complete. I walked through them with them yesterday and noted a few areas that they had missed, so they need to come back. They'll be back in this week to finish next week with the joint sealant. The rejected concrete, the contractor will be this week to begin tear out of the areas that were rejected and replace them as they proceed. And then the pond structure also will be, the erosion control map will be completed as soon as they have the product, and they'll jet the control structures once they get here. So that should wrap everything up, will wrap everything up by the end of the month.
So what will be done differently with the concrete removal and replacement this time that the previous three didn't work?
Well, I think the issue is that they did not cut the control joints in a timely manner, is what we've come to the conclusion of. So those have to be more cognizant of getting on sooner to make sure that the random cracking doesn't occur.
Okay.
So Brady, you're gonna personally ride herd on that in terms of being there so they get it
You're gonna
back?
have to, yes. Yeah.
So we want somebody there because this will be the fourth time to do a simple concrete job,
Right.
so it's disappointing. But yeah, we're holding a bunch of federal money on this, so we've been withholding payments until these are done. I know there's some change orders that we still need to sort through between Jeff, Terry, and yourselves. But other than that, it looks great.
Yeah, it's really the pavement issues that we have to deal with. The rest is pretty much figured out.
So, very good. So they'll be giving us an update at the next meeting, or as soon as things are done, let us know so we can let the board know when things are done. So, winter's coming.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I'd just give you, so I'm not sure what happened with the email, Stacy, in terms of, we sent so all the contracts that we used to do with the airport, because of the relationship with the city has an addendum that goes along with an AIA contract. And it's, there's a lot of, actually large firms, companies and or municipalities that do this. One is like, we don't go to arbitration, if they want to sue me, they get to sue me. If I want to sue you, we don't go through arbitration. And actually my attorney suggests the same thing. So the addendum that the city has really isn't any big deal. We've used it I don't know how many times up here. And the problem was that it was outdated, and so we asked Eric for a new one, and Eric pretty much said, you guys are on your own, and so you can do anything you want. And I think Sean would like to continue with that same addendum. It's just that it's written for, I think, the 2013 AIA contract, and now we're on 2017. We lag a lot with how the AIA contract, because it doesn't change that often. And so we sent one on August 30th. I sent one again this morning. Stacy, I asked you to maybe check your junk mail. Maybe it went there. It just needs to, it's basically the same stuff. It's just that, being the contract, the 217 is changed. Now the articles and the numbers don't match and all that kind of stuff. So we thought it made sense to get one that matched. And so that's what Stacy's working on. It's really not too big a deal. We're not getting any federal funding for the exit plaza, so it's not like we have to go through the FAA. And then we're also working with Mead and Hunt to be able to present the two different positions in regards to putting the exit plaza where it is today, or put it to the south, and trying to determine if putting it to the south, do we modify our building or not, or how do we do that? You know, so that's the next steps. I mean, for bidding it next year, we're in great shape, so that's no big deal. In fact, I think we'd want to try to shoot to maybe bid it in February, late February, maybe early March tops. Just because construction is starting to settle down a little bit, but steel's still going up, and so hoping maybe if we bid it a little later, things will even out a little bit and see what happens. But
So the addendum that he's referring to, if I recall, maybe Commissioner Cosgriff recalls this, is a result of issues with the Fargo Dome way back when.
Right.
So Gary Stewart, when he was city attorney and airport authority attorney, came up with this addendum. We've included it in every AIA contract we've had ever since the Fargo Dome fiasco, but luckily Terry caught that it's outdated, just needs to be updated, and Stacy will do
there
that
really
on our
isn't
behalf.
many big items. The arbitration one is really the biggest one, and it's true. I mean, so my attorney used to be Morris McCormick, probably the best construction attorney around, and he would tell me the same thing. He said, you know, you're just wasting money doing arbitration. So you're going to either settle or you're going to sue one another. So, you know.
So we'll get that updated. That'll be in both contracts that Terry's working on there. So.
And we're working on the, Jim and I have had some brief conversations on the covered walkway.
Yes.
Or covered parking. And so we're gonna come up with some kind of big picture items for you guys to look at first before we go any farther in terms of what, you know, what are the options, what are the pros, what are the cons, those kind of things.
I would like to talk to you about that if we leave.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions for Terry?
No. I have a question for Sean though. You're talking about when he was speaking about this is the fourth time we've done what? This contractor screwing up concrete someplace?
Yeah, it's in
Over
the
by the
story
maintenance
Google.
shop?
Yeah.
So do they get paid even though, I mean, in my mind I'm saying, wow, we can keep screwing this up, we get paid more and more and more.
Yeah,
Are they getting paid for that? For their screw ups?
Not each time, no.
Okay.
It's warranted, so.
And the second thing is I noticed the parking lot gates are blocked again.
Okay.
Cones are
Coming
sitting
on the east
out.
side?
The one on the,
Okay.
I don't know if it goes into long term or short term. I
Alright,
came
well-
through one on the short term.
All right, we'll find out from Jay what's going on there. So the status, and Stacy has exchanged emails with Brad McAllister at SP Plus and Jim Duffon at Flash on the new contract. So they're working through the language of the contract for the parks equipment contract that we awarded to Flash here at the last meeting or a couple meetings ago. So that contract is still in process, but hopefully we'll get that ironed out yet this week.
When can we get that stuff or the equipment ordered?
As soon as the contract is done.
So only getting colder.
Yeah.
And stuff's gonna start failing again very, very shortly. So,
Quick question back, or comment back to the AIA addendum that Terry was talking about. Maybe what we do is after we've done this, make sure we share it with the city of Fargo. So hopefully they will be able to update theirs using some of the work that we've put in. Because if they need to do it, I mean, we might as well share what we're gonna be doing with them.
okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion on airport security update? Or construction security? Okay. Here's the big showstopper. Review and approve the employee manual, sections 6 through 11 with addendums 1 through 5.
Okay, so this won't take too long.
No.
Like you said, Tammy.
This is really good stuff. Good stuff.
Pearl Resources are here, but like you say, as I stated before, this is a living document, so we went through 1 through 5, and I think between Tammy and the crew from Pearl Resources, they're making those edits that you had approved and changes, so I just get to the right page here.
Page 24.
24 is the
Or,
start.
yep, 24.
So business operations, electronic communications, resources, business use, ownership resources, ownership and confidentiality of information. I mean, just speak up if you have something on any given page. We don't have any issues or changes through page 24, offensive materials, receipt of offensive materials, confidential information, safeguarding of company resources with license agreements, proprietary software on page 25. Security, there isn't really anything there. This is pretty standard. Misuse of communication resources, use of phone and fax system. 26, there really isn't anything there. Page 27, use of mailing system, video surveillance, rest and meal periods. I just don't know if rest and meal periods we need to include. We have 2 15-minute breaks that are allowed. We don't mention anything about 15-minute breaks, but do we need to do that in the rest and meal period section? So if you're here 8 to 5, there's a 15-minute break in the morning, there's one in the afternoon. Of course, you get your 30-minute lunch period.
And that's required by law.
Right.
15 minutes every 4 hours.
The 15-minute just need to be offered, but 30-minute over a lunch or dinner period.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there's anything that you want to do in the 15 minutes there in that rest and meal period section, we probably should add something there. Prevention and detection of fraud reporting. This is probably something new, but we would certainly encourage that for any employee.
And this is, I got this section, anything in yellow, kind of as a reminder, are things that I picked up by looking at the other airport employee handbooks.
So that completes section 6. Section 7, conflicts of interest in outside employment. Pretty much standard with what we've had in place before. So we want employees to disclose outside employment circumstances or situations to us so that we're aware if there is other employment. On page 29, non-disclosure of confidential information. As you go down the bullet points, some of that doesn't really apply to us. Research and development strategies, scientific data, scientific formula, scientific prototypes, technological data, technological prototypes. Those things really don't apply to us, probably could be removed. But anything that we do, there are situations where we can get into non-disclosure agreements. We did with some of the cargo companies here, and there could be other businesses that would come forth and want us to sign a non-disclosure agreement. In that situation, things are kept confidential, but at the end of the day, we're a public entity, so the Sunshine Law, everything is public. And the companies that engage in that type of practice have to understand that once you come forth with your lease agreement, it's all public information, so they're dealing in the public realm. So I'm not really sure how I feel about non-disclosure of confidential information outside of the times when we would sign a non-disclosure statement, if that makes sense.
And this section was one from Pro Resources. So when you look at some of them, you know, if it doesn't apply to us, then
right.
I would agree we don't need it.
Like I said, if there's something on my desk or Joan's desk or Darren's that could come from a tenant that maybe has confidential information, hopefully that wouldn't be disclosed, but you know, I try and keep those things secured just for that purpose. So we'll do some edits on that non-disclosure. Section 8, discipline and termination, fairly standard with employment termination, return of property, resignation, solicitation, all of that. That's standard. Section 9, rules of conduct, employee conduct and work rules. Pretty standard language, very similar to what we have in place right now today. That goes through section 30, page 31. I don't have any issues with there. Page 32, inclement weather. The only thing that we probably would add there, we don't have PTO at this time. That's something we may look at down during the future. Right now we have annual leave and vacation. We may look at just PTO account. So what I'd like to do there after the word PTO is put in /annual leave in both of those, just in case we would change to PTO, we're covered in the future. Drug and alcohol use, really pretty standard to what we have at this time. The smoking thing, I mean, we do have some employees that smoke, but they're aware of their restrictions as far as equipment and with the buildings and so forth.
Do we have an employee assistance program? Because that was from Pro Resources.
Yes, we do.
We do, perfect.
Yeah, it's through the village right now and probably would continue. I don't know. There's a different one that they would have there.
I think we've had that for years.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to make sure because there were other manuals that didn't have that. So that was just something that I took picked up.
Page 33 is all about drug and alcohol use policy, drug testing, all very standard pre-employment testing, reasonable suspicious testing. So if a supervisor comes to work and thinks someone may be under the influence, I mean, everybody's doing their job. Or if it's a coworker, I mean, you have a responsibility to report. Page 34, random testing. Right now, random testing for illegal drug use throughout the year. We would want to change that the random testing is requirement of those that have a commercial driver's license, a CDL.
Okay.
So it says which will include all employee groups. So what we want to do is the airport authority conducts random testing for illegal drug use throughout the year for employees who are required to maintain a CDL. That would be the amendment there.
Okay.
So if you have any questions there, positive test result, that's fine. Section 10, harassment and problem resolution procedure. Once again, I think it's pretty straightforward language from what we've seen currently. That's on 35. Page 36, this is all related to that policy. In the procedure section, number 4, instead of the president, would be the chair of the Municipal Airport Authority. So you may report your concerns to any of the following: immediate supervisor, human resource supervisor, any person in management position, or the chair of the airport authority.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'd like, you could, if they don't feel comfortable approaching the chair, you could put in any member of the airport authority. What's your preference on that?
Why don't we put chair or any member?
Okay,
Board.
Any board member, yeah, okay.
any board member, okay. I don't have anything else on page 36.
Very approachable.
37 is at the top there. That's just continue with that. So that's pretty standard. Social media policy. That's kind of a new buzz thing with things there. I'm not on the social media stuff, but it seems pretty standard language. Chris is nodding her head from Pro Resources. The guidelines in terms of how others are handling social media. 38. No changes there. So that completes the sections, I guess, if you will, of through section 11. Now we look at the addendums. These are pretty straightforward addendums that basically mirror what we're doing right now with the city as far as with the addendums. On page 40, military leave, employees serving with the National Guard, I'd like to add and reserve are entitled to leave without pay for the first 30 days. Just add and reserve. And then when we talk about meal breaks, probably reiterate that they are the 2 15-minute breaks as well on the meal break section. Page 41, as far as health insurance, the question on this, our employees get the benefits the day that they start. So health insurance here, it says full-time employees are eligible for health insurance coverage on the first day of the month after completing 30 days of service. That wouldn't mean that they'd have health insurance if they're on the first day of work. Is that standard? Help me with that.
I picked this up through other airports.
Yeah, because if our employee starts on October 1st and on the 15th they have some accident, but they're employed by us, currently they have health insurance. This would indicate that they wouldn't. Is that correct?
And hopefully they have insurance up to that point, you know, from where we're.
But if we're offering it,
To the end of the month.
Yes, I just don't
we
know
want
the
to make
lag
sure it's
time. This is
consistent
out of
with
my
what
realm,
they're
but-
expecting right now.
Yeah.
So if we are offering it the first day, then I think we should offer it the first day.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
Without a doubt.
Right.
on the
right.
first day of employment.
The contribution percentage amount is standard. The airport authority would set that, but currently it's 25% for the employee and 75% for the employer. That's what we've been following with the current policy with the city. Second paragraph, upon leaving authority employment instead of leaving, I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's just a word change there. That's for
Leaving.
COBRA.
Yeah, okay.
And we'll have a COBRA policy here for employees that would leave or be terminated. Life insurance, we can strike that. Life insurance is voluntary benefit.
Okay.
We don't pay for life insurance. They used to some years ago, but we don't any longer.
Okay.
And as far as short and long-term disability, full-time employees are eligible for short and long-term disability insurance. With long-term disability insurance, the monthly premiums are paid by the airport authority. Only long-term disability insurance is paid for by the authority. Short-term is an option if they want to get short-term when they sign up for their benefits, but it's not paid for. And then all accrued and unused sick leave and annual leave must first be used before accessing the insurance. I think that's pretty standard. So, any questions on page 41, insurance addendum? Okay. Page 42, retirement program. The airport authority will match contributions by eligible full-time employees up to X percentage of the employee's gross wages. It's whatever ND PERS requires.
Okay.
And sometimes that does change, but whatever ND PERS requires. Addendum 4, annual leave, vacation leave is identical to what we have in place right now. There's no changes there, so we'll accrue the same as we have been with what we've been following under the city.
I think the only reason that this is highlighted is when I typed it, this was actually within the employee manual, and I did it as an addendum just because I thought it was easier to highlight it as a separate entity.
Okay. Page 44 is for aircraft rescue and firefighters. Once again, no change from what they're currently doing. Page 45, accrual for part-time and temporary and seasonal employees. No change from what we're currently doing. Page 46, maximum accrual. We talked about that earlier.
Can I go back to 44? Did I make
Yes.
a typo here? Annual leave for fire suppression employees is charged on a tour day basis. Is that 4-day basis? Or is it tour? I don't know.
On page 44?
On page 44, the very last line. It's just that it hit me and I'm
I
like,
think that's correct.
is it correct? Okay, okay,
Yeah,
thank
they call
you.
them tours. Yeah,
Tour,
that's
okay,
right.
good.
45, that's the same. Like I say,
Okay.
this is identical to what we're doing right now with the city
Yep.
of Fargo. Maximum accrual, the same. Sick leave addendum, identical to what we're doing right now under the city. Same for firefighters as well with sick leave accrual. Same for part-time seasonal employees. There's no change there.
Oh, yeah, there is. I made a typo. 49. Bottom of the page, there should scratch that semicolon. Before 019, that should be a period. Should be a period.
Now on page 50, the only change there is up to 4 days of accrued and unused sick leave may be used by an employee who has make arrangements
Okay.
for a funeral. It's on a previous page, on page 23, section 4 that we approved. It's up to 4 calendar days for
Okay.
funeral leave, so we'll just keep that consistent. And
That's the second paragraph, Sean?
Yeah.
second
paragraph,
paragraph.
up to 4 days of
5
accrued.
days of accrued and unused sick leave may be used by an employee who has to make arrangements
So
for
now
or
it's
attend
4.
the funeral of any member of the employee's immediate family.
Okay, because isn't funeral leave covered earlier too?
It is.
Yeah.
So is
I
this
mean, we
in
could really
addition to
just,
that?
we could really just.
Probably eliminate it because
eliminate
it's
it?
covered in
Yeah.
an earlier section. Okay.
Yep.
I think so.
Yep.
We'll just eliminate that section. The only other addition that I have, and I had emailed this out there before that we should add, is education assistance tuition reimbursement to match what the city of Fargo currently has under their employment policy 300-004. So we'd like to add that to the deal. And page 51 is the employee acknowledgement of the handbook. And like I say, just tuition assistance. That's all I have.
Good.
So once those edits are done and so forth, maybe the entire packet could be brought back before the board in a printed form or electronic, whichever you prefer, and can have one more total review of everything prior to the meeting and give your official adoption of that.
And I'll compare my notes with Chris and Pro Resources to make sure we get them all.
Okay, any further comments on the employee manual? Thank you for all your work, Tammy.
You're
and
welcome.
Joan and Sean, appreciate that. Last items, cleanup stuff.
If you want to do, we'll get to that in a second or so. We won't have a meeting on September 28th. I'll be traveling to the National Airports Conference and the Allegiant Conference. So our next board meeting would be on Tuesday, October 12th. Unless something comes up between today and October 12th where we have to call a special meeting, but we would intend to meet on the 12th. And the other thing that we will do, we'll try and keep it as a short meeting because board members have indicated a desire to have an open house at the new snow removal equipment building. So what we would do is conclude our meeting here and then go to an open house at the new snow removal equipment building. We'll work with Flint on a public announcement of that, and maybe from 9 to noon the shop can be open. Yes, we'll have cake, show the public, I guess, invite as many from the public and the media out to show off the snow removal equipment. Billing Terry, the whole crew from Meineke Johnson, your contractors will be all welcome to come out to that on October 12th for that.
Mr. Chair, this is barring a snow event, correct?
Well, we could have some action photos. You know, going to that, I want to make sure that the board recognizes Sean has been the new Chamber of Commerce president for about a month, so this will be under his tenure there. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right. September 28th, here in the boardroom, there'll be a bid opening for that HVAC pathogen mitigation equipment. Obernell will be doing that ribbon cutting, the bid opening here. So Darren, I'll be gone, but Darren will be present for that. August 21 boardings versus August of 19. We were just a few hundred passengers short. Darren, do you know what the percentage was from 19?
Oh, was it 3%?
Yeah, so we were real close to what the all-time record was in August of 2019. So, but what we're starting to see and what the carriers are telling us, and we're already seeing adjustments in carrier schedules, November and October, where there's less flights, less capacity. The COVID decrease is escalating right now as people are foregoing their trips and canceling trips and delaying their travels. So we'll see what we're dealing with this winter. Mr. Flaxbarth is here. We met this week, and I've tasked Rick with putting together himself and two other commercial real estate agents to look at our ground rental rates for the commercial side, the general aviation side. We do this periodically to look at what we're charging in ground rent. This started way back when Airborne Express announced that they were going to build a cargo facility here. Remember, Tracy Myers put together 3 realtors. I can remember 2 of them. I remember the third. They came up with the scheme that we've been following in terms of increasing ground rents. You know, it started at 16 cents a square foot per month for commercial, and then 19, 22, 25, and we've been at 25 for some time. And we're looking at our general aviation rates as well in the South GA, but as other tenants on the field have indicated publicly, if you take an aerial photo of some of the other airports in the state and look at development versus ours, I think our rates are very conducive to people building hangars. We've had a lot of development on the airport. We want to continue to do that, but at the same time, we want to try and make certain that we're at the fair market value rate is what the FAA requires. So our rates in the South General Aviation area have been at 8 cents a square foot for some time, 10 cents up in the North GA. Are they due for some type of an adjustment? And we have the opportunity with our private hangar leases to change that on the anniversary date of each lease. It's a little bit different for the commercial ones with UPS and FedEx. The earliest we can change, I believe FedEx is like 2024. It's the start of year 8. And I think it's 2022 for corporate air. UPS is somewhere in that same range. So there's language in each of those commercial lease agreements that the rent can't go up by more than 20% of the previous year, but then it's based on CPI. And Rick and the team will kind of put that together for us in a report and bring it back to us to see if there's any adjustments necessary going forward. Any questions on that? Like I say, we do this periodically. In the past, I've always had like Ben Hushka or it was Marv Heaton. There was other people in the assessor's office would go through and give an opinion, and we seem to have been doing fine. Like I say, our private rates in the South GA and the North GA are probably looked upon as being low across the state. Others are probably almost double what we are, but at the same time they don't have any activity, but we do. So our ground rental rate versus what the city's getting in property taxes, the city of Fargo is getting a significant amount of property taxes off of this airport development, less the National Guard, of course, and the military stuff that we have, but the private investment with UPS, FedEx, what Fargo Jet Center is going to be launching here next spring, and others in the South GA, it's been a substantial increase to the taxpayers and benefit of the city of Fargo for the property taxes generated. So that's what we want to continue.
You know, I think that's a really good point to highlight. People don't realize the property tax benefit to the city of Fargo because we help that, you know, and I think that's a really good point to bring up, especially as we look forward to growing and any bonding that we have. So
the final thing is August 24th was a big military day. They did the groundbreaking for the new facility over at the Air National Guard, and they had the ribbon cutting for the new Operational Readiness Center, and the Adjutant General surprised us with the Bridge Builder Award.
wow.
And this is, it's a very heavy deal, so they gave us this bridge builder, and I handed out to you, I guess, what the Bridge Builder Award means in the Army Guard. I don't know if you want to read that, Eric, or whatever, but the Bridge Builder Award was conceived from the World War II era Bailey Bridge. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, commander of the Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, considered this bridge one of the 3 most important developments of World War II, along with radar and the heavy bomber. The Bailey was a portable bridge whose components were light enough to be easily transported and hand-carried, but able to span obstacles supporting the weight of main battle tank and other key equipment needed by the Allies in the fight against the Axis powers in Europe. The panels are held together by a pin. This pin represents the bonds between the North Dakota National Guard and the supporting organization or agency, exemplifying the bridges built together and obstacles overcome. This award is presented to an organization who enhances readiness and enduring success of the North Dakota National Guard. So
Wow,
we'll find
that
this
is
out.
awesome.
Thanks to the airport authority. I mean, if you look around the country, the adversarial relationships a lot of airports have with their military, that doesn't happen here. It's never happened here. It never will. We're real fortunate. So if the Guard needs it, they get it. That's how we handle it. So
Kudos to you.
that's all we've got.
Okay, anything else? Just to formally say, last night we had our grand opening of the cargo apron. The UPS facility had their first aircraft there last night. We kind of discussed it a little bit, but didn't really say exactly what it was. So they had their first aircraft operation. So the cargo ramp is now officially open. So just doing the lights around it now, and then that's complete.
Right. And if you haven't seen it yet, Darren did a video of the parade. On Saturday, Darren was out here with staff escorting all of the equipment from the South GA up to the cargo apron. It's pretty incredible.
Yep. The South GA will be unoccupied where UPS formerly was by the 1st of October. They said they'll be completely out of there, and all the aircraft cans and the cargo cans and all that stuff should be out of there too. So all the tenants in the South GA should be very happy to have that clutter removed as well. So anyway, anything else from anybody? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.